Check 3 p.m. right here. Of course, this is FCT. Perhaps you're just passing by, wondering, where am I? You're in the Federal Capital Territory. My name is Honorable Apedi Great, the Magic Voice on Radio. And today I have have a very important personality with me this beautiful afternoon. You know, behavioral change is something that we don't take too serious in this country. That is fact. You know, most times we just call our leaders out. The leader has done this, the leader has done that. But the truth is, if we ourselves, especially the young minds, especially the young bloods, especially the youths, like you normally call them, if we are not ready to change our ways yet, change our mentality, change the way we reason, change our behavior generally, trust me, there is no way the leaders will change. I know some persons will be like, no, it's the leader. I know, I understand. The leaders are to be blamed partly, but I want to personally say that we, the young ones, we are to be blamed. Yes, because the leaders can never hold themselves accountable. They can never hold themselves accountable. It's possible. They can never be a judge in their own case. So others will need to hold them accountable. Their cronies can never hold them accountable. That is why we say the young ones, the youths, who are obviously the majority, they are the ones saddled with the responsibility of holding leaders accountable. Unfortunately, do they even really know their rights? Do they really know what to do? Do they really know how to go about it? That is why we have this NGO that has come up with this brilliant idea of going from one place to the other, talking to youths, gathering the youths, and making sure that they are taught leadership, making sure that youths also occupy leadership positions, making sure that youths hold leaders accountable. I'm not saying attack the leaders. No, holding the leaders accountable is not an attack. Get that straight. So this afternoon I have someone from this noble organization. He should introduce himself so that you get to know him. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much, the viewer and the listener, and also my good host.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so what's your name?
Okay, I'm Yusuf Adini Rashid.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a researcher development at Green Light Initiative.
Okay.
Yeah, the agency that you just introduced now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I heard there is this project which is ongoing at your organization, and I heard that you are out to make sure that the youth become even more useful than ever. This is true, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And if I could throw more light on the project, you know, going by after the election, you know, Nigeria particularly, you see the youth clamoring, you know, complaining the good leaders are not doing that, are not doing right, there's corruption in government. And if you look at the institution of governance, particularly in Nigeria where we subscribe to democracy,
Yeah.
you know, the people are the center of governance. When the people is taken away, you know, what we have is going to be bad governance. And key activities that the youths or the population should do is holding their leaders accountable. That is key. You know, so most time we get involved in governance or in electioneering at the stages of campaigning, of which after the election, you know, we lost focus. Some due to the fact that maybe probably their choice of candidate does not win the election, or probably because, you know, their expectation does not materialize, and because of that, you know, they lost focus and they leave everything to politicians. However, the essence, the key activities of the citizens is start after the election by holding the governors accountable to their campaign promises, to their manifestos, to their projected and initiatives, and how you follow up that the money, you know, they have been budgeted, you know, are actually being spent for what.
Interesting.
So,
Okay, now, from what you've said, that is to say, in other words, the youths need to participate in governance, either directly or indirectly. They should participate in governance.
Definitely.
So why do you think the youth need to meaningfully participate in governance?
Yeah, thank you for that question. If you are looking at why youth need to be participating in governance, the first reason is to deepen our democracy.
Oh, okay.
When we are talking about democracy, is a government for the people, by the people. If you look at all of this, as I've said earlier, the people is in the center of the game. So when the people are not involved, definitely, and there will not be good governance.
Okay.
Yes. So if you really want good governance and you want democracy to be, strengthened in our society, the youth need to be, actively involved. Because in Nigeria particularly, and which is obtainable in the most part of the world, the youth dominate the demography.
True.
In Nigeria today, the media age is around 17 years. And we have the population that is highly dominated by the youth. So if the youth are not involved in the governance, definitely that means there will not be inclusive governance. And if there's no inclusive governance, you have violated the fundamental principle of democracy. So to uphold even the tenet of democracy we talked about, the youth need to get involved because they dominate demography. Secondly, in Nigeria today, we have a high level of social inequality. What do I mean by social inequality? Whereby you say in the same Nigeria we have people who are stupidly rich, and we have people who are bastardly poor. It shouldn't be like this. You have people who can afford to send their children to go and study abroad, yet you have people who cannot afford to even pay for government school here. You have people who can pay millions for their children to attend nursery school per term, yet you have people, youth, who cannot afford 100,000 naira for university. So you have in Nigeria, whereby you have a reasonable number of certain percentage of people who have a choice of work. They can decide, I want to work in this place, I want to work abroad. Yet in the same Nigeria, you have over 70% of the youth population unemployed. So for we to bring this high social inequality, we need the youth to be involved in governance so that they will be participatory. They will be engaged, they will be involved in decision making. They will be involved in the policy formulation. They will be involved in implementation of initiative of governments. And all of this will bring about accountability that we are all clamoring for. And it will bring about good governance and to deepen our democracy. More importantly, let me add to it the challenges we're facing in Nigeria today. Insecurity everywhere. One of the challenges that the Nigerian army have always said time to time, in their cause in fighting insurgency and counter-terrorism is that despite that sometimes they have, they are winning the war, but they are surprising how the youth, how this insurgency group, easily, recruiting people, Nigerian youth, to become a terrorist or insurgent. You see what is happening in the northeast? It's what is happening in southeast, where the youth are being used, for causing problems in our society. This is because the youth are not meaningfully engaged. So when youth are actively involved, there will be good governance, and the youth will be positively engaged, and they will not be available for negative engagement.
Interesting. Now, from what you've said, Adeni, I'm so sure that the young people out there will be, they will pique interest. But then, how can young people actively contribute their own quota to local governance initiatives in their communities, different communities?
Yeah, when we're talking about youth, actively contributing to governance, that's what you mean, right?
Yes.
Okay. It means that they need to be at the center of the implementation of government projects.
Okay.
They need to be involved in the choice of leadership. They need to be involved in the choice of government projects. They need to be involved, in the way the governors, carry out their activities. And to break it down in the specific terms, it means that the youth, first of all, must pick interest. We're talking about the local, right?
Yes.
It means that in their locality, in their village, they need to start picking interest. This year, my local government now, they've passed budget for 2024. What is it in it, the budget item? Does my community have a project in the budget? If they have, then how will you now, as a youth now, you can bring together key stakeholders in the society, like the community leaders, like the religious leaders, even the youth, the women, bring it together. That okay, our local government chairman, Mr. So have budgeted that in 2024, he's going to build healthcare center in our community. He has put it in the budget that he's going to build, renovate our primary school. He has put it in the budget that he's going to provide, a motorist route to our community. You let the people aware about this, and you go further. Okay, what was budgeted? That same time, our local government chairman have said you're going to use social amount of money to do this project. They go further. Okay, the government, he has presented this budget to the state government, and state government have forwarded to the federal government, and federal government have awarded it, and they've approved social amount of money that by January our local government are going to have some amount of money for this project. Then let people be aware you are playing a role. Then by May, June, July, you can investigate. Does this project implemented? If it's not implemented, you call a town hall meeting. Okay, so project, be aware that so chairman have used an community, to bid it for a project. The federal government have released some amount of money for him. He has not done this project. You can call the social person for meeting. Let him aware that you are aware of what is happening. If he fail to do that, then you can report him to necessary agencies. So if you look at this now, what I've just mentioned now, it does not require financial resources.
Yeah, true.
It's just the interest of the youth and the determination that they want things to be done right. And do you know the effect of this? When the leader knew that people are becoming aware of what they are budgeted, what being released for them, they will get serious.
Interesting. I like the part you say they will get serious. The reason why people continue to do evil or continue to destroy the society is because they know there are no consequences. But then I know, just like what you said, there must be challenges that these young ones will face. What are some of the major challenges you feel these young individuals might encounter, when trying to engage in local governance? It is not easy. So what do you think are some of the challenges that they may face, so that the average listener they will be prepared? Prepare his mind. Okay, he said I should prepare for such a challenge. In case that challenges come, they will no longer see them as new challenges. You've already talked about it.
Well, personally, I don't like talking about or dwelling about challenges, because challenges are inevitable.
Indeed.
And is insustable. They will continue to come. And when what you dwell on is what your mind will be open to.
Okay.
So as a human being, as a society, if you dwell much on problems, begin to see more problems. As a principles, I train my mind to always focus on opportunities. So doing that, enables you to find a way to solve it. But nevertheless, don't let me not downplay the fact that there are problems that undermine youth, doing this engagement. So some of these problems, challenges, if we call it, it seems are woven in a socio-cultural and in a constitution. When I think socio-cultural, as in Nigeria generally, we have a culture that promotes, youth to be silent, to be domicile. We have a culture that believes that, youth supposed, or as a young person, you needed to, to respect your elders. You need to listen to them. You need not to challenge them. And over time, this has created a problem, a bigger problem, that the youth themselves begin to believe that leadership or governance is not cut out for them. This is even a greater problems that our social, cultural practices as encouraged, as relate to the youth participating or involved actively in governance. So we have social cultural that encourages that. Then we have a issue that also got to do with legal framework. Because we are talking about democracy, we are talking about rule of law. And when you're talking about rule of law, it means that you must, operate within the purview of the law.
True.
So what does our constitution say? Fortunately, constitution make provision for the youth, encourage youth participation in governance. And going further, as far back as I think in 1987, when Nigeria have adopted Nigeria Youth Policy. As far back in 1987, 89, I think, youth policy. This policy centered on encouraging youth involvement in governance. over time they've reviewed this policy. The recent one they did, I think 2017 to 2024, I think, yes. So but these are policy that's encouraged at the national level. At the global level also, there are also other international agencies like World Bank, like a UN, that have promoted that. But you find out that at the locality, which is the focus of our discussion today, some local government and some state governors, have now adopted this policy. Don't be surprising, as I told you, that the youth policy have been existed since '89 till present now. Many states in Nigeria have now adopted that policy. An example of that of some of these states include the states in the northeast, like Adamawa, Yobe, Borno, even some also states in the north, southeast, and north central. They are yet to adopt that policy, and that bring a barrier to youth entrant into governance. Some of those, because apparently, the age bracket for youth to get involved in leadership is probably maybe 25, if not recently they just brought it down. So those policies bring a barrier. And sometimes also the policy we're talking about now, presently now, you see where you're talking about allocation payment directly to the local government. If this is implemented, we have encouraged the youth to hold their local government chairman or councillors accountable. But some of these policies are not also implemented. And then more importantly, that is particularly affecting us in our society, is the challenges of economy.
Okay.
As I've said earlier, the level of social inequality is high. There is a poverty. An average youth live in poverty. That's the reality. The living standard of average youth is appalling. You see youth struggling, for survival. So when you find yourself in such situations, you do not even have time that you want to hold anybody accountable or get involved in something meaningful. Because the society has already positioned you to be in a situation whereby you're consistently struggling for how you survived. It's unfortunate that in this country, we waste human resources. When you see somebody at the age of 35, 40, is still struggling how to survive. If you find someone at the age of 40, so you tell okay, it's not against you. Just try, settle down. Even though things are not working fine, settle down. So such person now is settled down, doesn't have anything. He continues suffering, struggling to keep his home, his family. So such person cannot participate in governance. So our economy is a big challenge that is causing hindrances to youth involvement in governance. So if you look at this socio-cultural, economic, and then the legal aspect also, there are a lot of challenges that is enough to weigh the youth down.
Wow.
Should not be deterred.
Okay, now, of course, thank goodness your organization is doing this. We can't just leave it for organizations as yours alone. We have the educational institution. What should they do? What have they? I know they've not been doing so much, but what do you think they can do? What should be their roles in preparing these young individuals, local governance?
Yeah, thank you very much. The education in every society, occupy a very pivotal stage, and it ought to be taken seriously. If you look at the concept of education generally, is that you design, what you want to teach your the people that will succeed you, your population. So education is an important institution that have an important role to play in encouraging youth to get involved in politics. And in a specific time, what they can do to achieve this, they can design curriculum in a way that even from primary school, they begin to teach people how, to see that involvement in politics or involvement in governance is a fundamental human right.
Okay.
By the time you grow up to the realization that, okay, it is my fundamental right as a citizen of my community to get involved in governance, when you grow up with that mindset, automatically you'll be involved. So that can start even from our primary school.
More like catching them young.
Catching them wrong. Very good. Catching them wrong. Secondary school to tertiary institution. And also, in a more conscious way, the school can also encourage this, by also, training people. So that's the way you can organize program. Back in school, we have intersport, we have so many programs that could also be integrated into some of the social activities in the school, whereby, governance activities will be replicated in school, whereby children from primary school begin to say, okay, they begin to have elections, they begin to have, parliamentary, they begin to have, executives, they begin to, exposing them to the process of budget process, they begin to exposing them to the process of electioneering process, and by the time the children, grow up with this, automatically it will entrench, the involvement of the youth in governance. So the education have a very important role to play.
Okay. Now, let's talk about technology and social media. Obviously, social media has presented a very huge opportunity for us to be in our homes and do things, either bad things or good things, however you want to do it. But then, if you come to Nigeria, Africa generally, you see the people whom we are talking about today, the set of people that we're talking about today, instead of using the social media, for the right reasons, you only go on social media today, you see young ladies showing, different parts of their body. You see guys doing one or two things that ordinarily they shouldn't be doing. But then you go, you also browse on that same social media and you see the whites, some of them coming up with innovations, only showcasing the right, things that their people, their kids are even doing. Now, let's talk about social media, because this should be a very strong force. How can social media, as a platform and technology generally be utilized to enhance youth involvement in local governance?
Thank you very much. If I may use a terminology from the tech at the basic level, what they call garbage in, garbage out.
True. Gigo.
What you give out is what you get.
True.
It's just very painful that in our society we tend to be reactive to things. We don't most time dig down to understand, what is responsible, for social, reflex, we are saying. As a youth or as a population, what we do is a reflection of either the education we got in the school or at home.
Okay.
Which is a reflection of our society. So what we do with technology now is a reflection of what our leader, our parent, has imbibed in us. So which means that if we want the youth to make use of technology productively, we need to also start also looking into the role of the parenting and also looking into the role of education in imbibing the right culture, the right value system. As I've said, technology is like money. It can be used for whatever purposes you want to use for.
True.
That disruptive or positive way. And unfortunately, in our society, people have used technology in a more negative way. This is because of, several fundamental issues. So, because technology, provide opportunity to bridge many barriers that have been holding youth get involved in governance, but we have not really been using it. Because before you got to know, what was in the budget, you can frustrate your efforts of, and probably will require you to travel. But today at your comfort home, you can type what was the budget of a local government.
True.
I to come to you. in the past, if probably want to report, any government agencies that fail to implement budget, for you to provide a pictorial evidences or to make report available to appropriate agencies, it will probably require you to travel either to your state capital or to the federal capital, Abuja. But today with technology, within your confine of environment, you can say that you can file a report against any government officials. Before, if a community want to write a petition against any government official, it probably will take you days or many activities. But today, you can call a town hall meeting of key stakeholders. You can collect signatories. You can take pictures as evidences. You can take picture of the possibly maybe a local government now you have written in the budget that okay, you want to provide health care for this good community, or want to renovate it, you want to rehabilitate it. You can take the picture of it as a evidence that nothing has been done. We have incidences where in some local governments, some community, we see local government chairman, they've been budgeted for certain roads for like 10 years, and yet the roads still remain dilapidated. I've witnessed in a community where some churches, some community member, some schools will offer to even do a road, but the local government will insist that no, they don't want to do it.
They don't want.
To report such people may be difficult without technology. With technology, to have made that easy. So the technology provide, is an enabler.
Okay.
That we can use.
All right. Because of our time, you've talked about parenting and all that is to help us guide in terms of using the technologies available and, of course, social media platforms positively. But then, do we have mentorship programs or initiatives that facilitate the engagement of young people in local governance? And even if we have, how effective are they? We have barely 3 minutes.
Okay. Thank you very much. There is not.
Okay.
Although recently some agencies like LACAS, like NFF, they are trying to come up with some of those mentorship, providing mentorship for people, to be able to guide them in governance. But at the local level, it is not really, pronounced.
Okay.
It is still evolving, although there are a couple of one or two that are trying to do that, but that's not really evolving to a level that you make a meaningful impact.
Okay.
But mentorship is very important. It's very important, as I've said earlier. Governance, like every other career path, it requires somebody to to mentor you. This how to go about it. If you want to hold someone accountable, this is a process you go about. Asking for government in the budget. If you want to go about monitoring project government budget, how you go about it. If you want to report it, this is how you go about it. Without engaging violence. If you want to bring people together, this is how you go about it. If you want to hold town hall meeting, this is how you go about it. If you want to write people meeting in concession, this is how you go about it. So mentorship is very important if it's done properly with commitment. Although it depends, on the attitude of the mentor and the mentee. So the commitment of both is important, but mentorship is good.
Okay, mentorship is quite good. Okay, now what do you have, your final word, for both the youths, the local government structures, government generally? What do you have for them? What advice do you have for them?
Okay, thank you very much. One advice I will have is, firstly, we should be more selfless.
Okay.
Should be selfless. We should understand that the world we lived in, the essence of living is to make impact in humanity. And whatever you acquire, does not count at the end of the day, but the impact you make in the life of the people. So as a citizen, you should also understand that, firstly, it is your fundamental right to hold governance accountable and have a right attitude of wanting to participate in it. For the leaders, they should understand that their purpose of governance is for the people to live a good life.
Okay.
So they should also, be conscious about the welfare of the people, because this is it is not of a mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Adeni, for coming. I hope your project becomes successful, and I hope that the youths whom you seek to impact, I hope they agree to be impacted. You understand? Thank you very much for coming.
Pleasure.
Yes, on that note, this is how we call it a wrap on the show. My name is Honorable Ape.